Mhm. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's live class. My name is Amber and I'm your teacher today. While we wait a few minutes for everybody to join and to start to arrive, just write your name in the chat box and where you're from. So if this is your first ever live class, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. The chat box is how we communicate and talk to each other, and it's just at the bottom of the screen. If you're a regular, if you've been here before, welcome back. And now let me have a look in the chat box. Oh, wonderful. I can see some familiar students already. Welcome back, Arti. Hi, Satya. Hi, Madhu. Heina, Tiba. It's lovely to meet you. Welcome. So as I said, I'll wait a few more minutes for everybody to join and then we can get started. We've got a student from Saudi. Fantastic. Welcome, Tari. Oh, fantastic. Claudia, welcome. You're from Indonesia. So this is your first live class. Well, I hope you enjoy it. And so, as I said, for any new students, the way that I can talk to you and you can talk to me is through the chat box. So you can use the chat box to ask me any questions during the lesson if you don't understand something, if you want some more information. So during the lesson, you can ask questions, and at the end of the lesson, we will also have time to ask questions as well. Oh, hello, Jane. Oh, it's wonderful to see you again. Welcome back. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Lovely. So we have another student, Jital. It's your first live class and you're from India. Oh, how exciting. We have a whole different range of countries, of students from different countries in this lesson. All right, well, I think we should get started. So what I'm going to do now is share my computer screen with you. Before I begin, can everybody see me and hear me? Yes, good. Great. Welcome, Hope. We have another new student, first ever live class from Nigeria. Brilliant. Okay, good. It seems most people can hear me and see me clearly, so that's excellent. All right, I'm going to share my screen now with you. Okay, I'll pop this up here. Okay, everybody, so officially welcome to today's live class, and in particular welcome to E2 School, which is a very exciting new development for us here. First we started with E2 Language and now we have launched E2 School. So on E2 School we'll be having live classes just like this every week. So if this is your first ever live class, make sure to come back next week on Wednesday, and the live classes will continue on for some time. So in case you've just joined the class, my name is Amber and I am your English teacher today. Now this particular lesson is called a key lesson. Now it's not key because you use a key to open a door. It's key because we are basing these lessons off the Cambridge Key English exam. So these live classes will be great for you to develop your grammar and also to develop a deeper understanding of the Cambridge Key exam. So in today's class, we're going to focus on two particular things in detail. So grammar, as I said, this will help you build your general grammar skills. Now, even if you feel like quite an advanced student, or perhaps you've been studying English for many years, so grammar is not new for you, well, these classes will still help you ensure that your foundation and your skills are correct and strong, because even the most advanced proficient speakers can sometimes still make grammar mistakes. So grammar, learning about grammar in more detail will help improve your fluency and also your accuracy. The second part of these live classes is designed to prepare specifically for the Cambridge Key exam. So that means that in each class, I will be teaching you a particular type of key task and also teach you some general exam skills and tips. So in today's particular class, we're going to focus on 3 things. We're going to focus on the listening part of the key exam, and in particular part 1, which is short texts. And then we're going to focus very heavily on adjectives. Now, this is a really interesting area to look at, because adjectives help bring color and beauty and inspiration and it engages all our senses when we're describing English. We describe how we feel, what we see, what we hear, what we can smell. So I love this part of language. It's a really interesting thing to explore together. And the last part of this lesson will focus on the key exam reading task, part 4. So this is the outline for today's class. Now, before I begin, does anybody have any questions, any last-minute emergency questions they'd like to ask me? If you do, write them in the chat box. Oh, okay, I can see, so that I can see a question about 2 questions. One is about the class time. We can talk a little bit more about when this class is scheduled at the end of the lesson. If there's a better time to suit different people, please let me know and we can organize that. The other question is, will this help me in PTE preparation? Now, my question is, are you going to take the PTE general test or the PTE academic test? And if you're taking the general test, are you taking the level 1 test? Okay, so academic. Well, this live class is specifically designed for A2 Key, which is more general English skills, and it's the fundamentals of grammar, the basics of grammar. However, these skills will help you with the PTE academic test in that they'll really strengthen your knowledge and understanding of language. They won't help you with the specific tasks on the PTE. However, there is some overlap between the key tasks and the PTE tasks. However, there are some tasks in the PTE that are not in the key exam. So I won't be focusing on those tasks in these lessons. However, at the end of the lesson, if there is a specific PTE task that you want my advice on or you'd like some help with, then please let me know and we can talk about it then. Okay, so I can see a few other types of test takers. So Claudia, you're doing the IELTS academic, great. And another question, will this increase your confidence? Yes, I really hope so. In these classes, we're going to look at speaking as well as all the skills, listening, reading, writing. And so my number 1 job is to help you feel more confident with your English. So if you have any questions, even if it seems like a really small question, you can ask me during this time and I can help you. If you have questions about your grammar or what to say in a particular situation, then I can help with that too. Another question, so 2 more questions. When will we start to schedule the paid classes and packages? That's an excellent question. And actually at the moment we're still working really hard to get all of the content ready for you guys. At the moment we're looking at July, mid-July. We will launch E2 School completely and then the packages will be available. So about six weeks away, and then you can start. And I'm really excited for you to see what we've been developing. It's going to be really interesting, the courses. And I'll just answer one more question before we start the lesson. Will it help with the OET? The answer to that is sometimes. So for example, 2 weeks ago, in this live class, we looked at how to use articles, so the, a and an, with medical terms. So I have a cold, I have the flu, or I have pain in my leg. So sometimes the topics will be relevant to the OET depending on what specialty you have. Other lessons will not be specifically designed for the OET, but they will be helpful for your general grammar. Okay, oh, May, don't worry if you're late. Welcome, come and join. It's perfect timing. We're just about to start the class. So everybody, let's begin. Now we're going to start with the listening, and I'll put up the information for you here. Okay. So as I said, we're going to focus on part 1 of the key listening exam. Okay. I'm going to play the recording, and the recording will explain what to do. So this is question 1. You need to choose the correct answer and write the answer in the chat box. So write the letter A, B, or C. Okay, everybody, I'm going to play the recording 2 times. Here is the first time. Okay, I can see a few people saying that they can't hear it. What I might do then, there's a recording on the power. Okay, not everybody can hear it. Right, what we'll do, no problem, I will read it instead. This is a conversation, so it's between 2 different people. So to make it clear about which person is which person, I will say person 1, person 2, person 1 before I speak. Okay, everybody, let's try that again. Okay. Person 1. Hi, Sue. Are you at home? Person 2. No, I'm in the city. I've just been to the hairdresser's. Person 1. What did you have done? Person 2. Well, I was bored of having long, straight hair. I thought about having it cut short, but in the end, I decided to go with curly hair. Person 1. That's great. Having short hair would have been a big change. Okay, brilliant. I can see lots of people have written their answers in the chat box, and everybody has got the correct answer, which is A. Well done, curly hair. Good work, everybody. Okay, so the answer is A. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the transcript of the recording that you heard. And what I want you to do is read the transcript and find all of the adjectives in the transcript. So write your answers in the chat box. Write down all the adjectives that you can find. And everybody, I'll give you a little clue. There are 8 adjectives here. So try to find 8 words. Some of the words repeat themselves, but there are 8 adjectives in total. Okay, everyone, I'll give you about 30 more seconds to finish this activity. All right, everyone, let's go through the answers. Now I can see many of you got a number of the adjectives, which is great. Here are all of the adjectives. Okay, so I'll read them out. The first one is bored. I was bored of having long, straight hair. I thought about having it cut short, but in the end, I decided to go with curly hair. That's great. Having short hair would have been a big change. Okay, so I can see some people who've asked some great questions. Now, let me just have a look. Now Samira, you've asked bored, is that a verb? And that's a very good question. In this case, it's actually an adjective. So it's describing how I was feeling. Now, I know it can look a little bit confusing because bored ends in ed, which is what most past simple verbs, if they're regular, they end in. So, but in this case, so for example, I danced yesterday. Danced is a verb and it ends in ed, but bored is an adjective here. Are there any other words that you were surprised about here? Are there any words that you don't understand? I noticed that somebody wrote hairdresser as an adjective, and actually here hairdresser is a noun. So nouns, person or a place. In fact, hairdresser can be used to refer to both a person or a place. So my hairdresser is called Sam, or I went to the hairdressers, as in a location. Now, Lee, you've got an excellent question. Does an adjective describe a noun or a verb? Well, adjectives describe nouns. That's their primary function. So they describe or modify nouns. And Samira, you have another great question. Do we always have a noun after an adjective? No. Sometimes adjectives can go before or after. So that's actually what we're going to look at in the second part of this lesson, where to put an adjective, before or after the noun. Okay, we're going to move on and do another listening now. So it's exactly the same format. You're going to see, oh, sorry everybody, we're not moving on yet. I'm going to test your memory now. This is a fill the gaps activity. And what I want you to do, try to use your memory from the last few minutes and fill in the gaps in this. Okay, everybody, I can see a number of people have filled in all of the words. Excellent job. Most of you have got them right. In fact, I think nearly all of you have got them right, which is brilliant. So here are the answers if you want to check. Okay, well, I was bored of having long straight hair. I thought about having it cut short, but in the end, I decided to go with curly hair. That's great. Having short hair would have been a big change. Now, I can see some excellent questions, I think, from Moyedin. And Moyedin has asked, what did you have done? Is that a correct question? So is it okay to say, what did you have done? And this is an excellent question. It is correct to say that. It's actually a shortened form, and this is a very common, natural question to ask. The longer form is, what did you have done to yourself? So I'll write that here for everybody to see. What did you have done to yourself? And this is a question that we ask usually when it involves changing something about our appearance. And the most common place that we change our appearance is at the hairdresser, cutting our hair short or changing its color. Another place could be at the beautician, for example, or for women who paint their nails at the nail parlor. So those are some examples. But this question, what did you have done, is when it involves changing the appearance of something or someone. We could also less commonly use it to describe changing the appearance of things. So for example, if I have a house and I want to change the color of my kitchen, I want to change my kitchen from a white kitchen to a blue kitchen, then and you know, I'm doing all this and I see a friend and my friend knows I'm changing my kitchen, the friend might say, oh, well, what did you have done to the kitchen? And so that's another situation where we could say that. Now, Hope has got a question. Is it not better to use what would have done? Well, what would have done is missing some key elements. So we're missing the subject in here, you. So that's a missing element here. You could say, what would you have done? That would be the correct sentence. What would you have done? But the meaning is totally different. If I say, what would you have done? That means in a hypothetical situation, if you could change the past, what would you have done differently? So I'll just write that up here for everybody to say. If I say, what would you have done? That means, what different action would you have taken compared to the action I took regarding the past? Now, Satya's asked, how about what have you done? Yes, we could say that. What have you done? But we'd probably say, as Jital has said, what have you done with your hair? So we'd usually add with your hair to that. So I'll just write this here for everybody to see. What have you done with your hair? However, interestingly, just a little bit of advice. If you say to a person, what have you done with your hair? We usually only say that sentence if somebody's hair looks bad. So for example, if I went to the hairdresser and I asked for a really strange haircut, like, you know, maybe pink hair with really short bits and really long bits, and I went to work and, you know, I saw my colleagues, they would say to me, oh, Amber, what have you done with your hair? So usually that question we only ask when we're a bit shocked. It's a more common way of asking, oh, what did you have done? That's a neutral way of asking about a change in somebody's appearance. Yes, exactly. And as you said, Sayali, the sentence does depend on the tone or the intonation. So I'll just pop back up here. Hello, everybody, again. So tone and intonation is how our voice goes up and down. So certainly I'm making myself sound shocked, like, oh, by making, you know, what have you done? So what have you done, like that, with your hair? So yes, I'm creating an emotion through my voice, but generally it's the more common way of using words. When we appear shocked, you'd say, oh, what have you done with your hair? It's more normal, if it's a normal situation, to just say, what did you have done? That more commonly carries no emotion when we talk. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the sentence really does depend on the expression you want to deliver. And certainly if I could say, oh, what have you done with your hair? In a normal way, in an interested way. But it is more common to say, what have you done with your hair, in a shocked way. So I hope that offers some useful tips. Okay, now we're going to move on to our second listening. Okay, everybody ready? All right. Okay, again, I'm going to read out the speaker 1 and speaker 2 so that everybody can hear. Okay. So, question 2. What is the weather like in London now? Person 1. I'm going to London next week. Person 2. Oh, that's exciting. It's good that you're not there today. I heard it's stormy. Person 1. Yes, that's right. The weather should be a bit better next week. It'll be mainly cloudy. Person 2. Well, that's not too bad. When I was there, it was rainy every day. Okay, everyone, that's the end of the listening. Write your answer in the chat box. So what is the weather like in London now? Not in the past, not in the future, but now. Okay, brilliant. I can see lots of people's answers, and you are correct. The answer is, oh, I don't want to say that. The answer, sorry everybody, is B, correct. So I heard it's stormy. So again, what I'm going to do now is show you the transcript. And again, I want you to find all the adjectives. Now, to give you another clue, there are, let me count how many, 1, 2, 3, 10 adjectives to find here. So good luck, everybody. I'll give you about a minute to do this activity. Write your adjectives in the chat box. Okay, everybody, I'll just give you a few more seconds if you want to add any more adjectives you've found, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, I'll pop up the answers. When you see the answers, write in the chat box if there are any that you are surprised about, or maybe any that you don't understand the meaning or how they're used. So please let me know if you've got any questions. Okay, here are the answers. So I'll read the sentences out again and pop any questions you've got in the chat box. That's exciting. It's good that you're not there today. I heard it's stormy. Yes, that's right. The weather should be a bit better next week. It'll be mainly cloudy. Well, that's not too bad. When I was there, it was rainy every day. Okay, oh, now I can see lots and lots of questions popping up in the chat box. So how about we go through all of the adjectives one by one. I can see many people have questions about every, and a number of people have questions about next as well. But let's just go through them all one by one. So exciting is an adjective to describe how you're feeling. So exciting is like really enthusiastic and happy. Good, again, that's one of the first adjectives that most people learn in English. And stormy, that adjective is describing the weather. Now, that's right. Right is an adjective here because it's describing what the male person has said, or person two has said. It's describing that sentence as correct or right. So right and correct are synonyms for each other. Now on to better. So better is a comparative adjective. So remember, in English we have good, better, best. And best is the most or superlative adjective. Better is a comparative adjective. Now, next is a time adjective. So remember, the purpose of an adjective is to describe a noun. So here the noun is week. And we want to say whether it's this week, last week, or next week. So here, next is classified as an adjective because it is giving you more information about the noun week. Okay, moving on. That's not too bad. Now, to, I can see to, why is to not an adjective? Oh, and also why is bit not an adjective? I'll take a few steps back and explain why is a bit not an adjective. Well, the clue for bit is the article in front of it, a bit. So bit means a small amount, and a bit, that's a noun. So you can use this noun in conjunction or joined with the comparative adjective. So it's very common to say a bit better or a bit later, for example. So if you ever see an article before a word, that's a clue that the word will be a noun. As for to is, in this case, a quantifier to show that it's stronger. So that's not too bad. It's kind of similar to very in this case. You could say, oh, that's not very bad, or that's not too bad. So bad here is the adjective, but too is not in this case. As for, so rainy, again, we have another adjective describing the weather. Now here's the question that many people have asked, what about every? Well, every is a really interesting word. Every means each member of a group. Now, every can take on two roles. Sometimes it is a determiner, and sometimes it is an adjective. And in particular, every has a very special name for its type of adjective. We call it a distributive adjective. So I'll just write this in the chat box for you to read it. A distributive adjective. So distributive adjectives describe specific things out of a group. So in this case, the day is a specific thing out of a group, and the group represents a period of time. And also with distributive adjectives, they are always before the noun or pronoun. So that's another little thing to remember. Is that explanation okay? Or would you like me to go over and add some more details about anyone in particular? It's okay? Okay, great. Oh, well, thank you. Why not? Oh, I see. Oh, everybody, Satya, you've asked an excellent question. I'm going to London next week. You're absolutely right. And this is completely my mistake. I have forgotten to highlight one. I apologize, everybody. We have another one at the top. So here's another example of next being used as an adjective. Sorry, everybody, that's absolutely my mistake. Another thing that I just realized I forgot to add is to. So in the last sentence, that's not too bad. To is an adverb here in this context. Why not mainly? Mainly here, so it'll be mainly cloudy. Mainly here is an adverb, so it's not functioning as the adjective. And so the adverb is modifying the verb in this case. And then cloudy is modifying or giving more information about the weather. Okay, everybody. So what we might do now is keep moving on. And what we're going to look now is adjectives in detail. Okay. Now Samira has asked a great question. Can we have two adjectives beside each other? Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. I can give you some really cool information about that at the end of the lesson, because there are some rules about the correct order of adjectives. It's called the royal order of adjectives. So I'll go through that at the end of the lesson, actually. Let's spend a bit of time discussing that. But the short answer is absolutely, you can have two adjectives beside each other. So in this section on adjectives, here are some examples. So here's Peanut, the cat from the Smith family, which is the lovely cartoon family we use on E2 School for our grammar review course. Now, if we want to describe Peanut, give her a color, what would you use? What is her color? Just write it in the chat box. Peanut is a what cat? Yes, gray, yes. Although Samira, I noticed you wrote cute, and yes, I agree. She is a very cute cat. Oh, dangerous, interesting. Green. Oh, green. I think you mean gray, Moyed and gray. The spelling's very, very similar on that one. Brown, gray. Well, the answer, oh no, not at all, don't worry. Gray and green look very similar in terms of spelling. Gray, the answer is gray. Peanut is a gray cat. Very good. Okay, next. Now I want you to describe her feelings. Here she is again, and here's a very menacing, angry dog. So what would we say? Peanut is what? Very good. I can see scared, afraid, frightened, fearful. Excellent work, you guys. So the answer I had was scared, but the other answers you've said are absolutely correct, and I'll write them in the chat box for everybody to see. So afraid is also correct. Frightened is correct. Fearful is correct. Very, very nice work, everybody. So yes, here are some sentences with adjectives in context. So in this part of the lesson, I'm going to introduce the rules for how to use adjectives. And then I'm going to discuss the position, so where to put them in a sentence. Can you put them before or after the noun? And then we're going to do some activities to practice. So here's the rule. Now I'm very excited to show you this rule because I have a really cool table to show you. But the basic purpose is that we use adjectives to describe people, places, or things. So, for example, Willie, who is another character from the Smith family, Willie is greedy and he is messy. So greedy means that Willie eats too much food, and messy means that he gets the food everywhere, on his face, on his top, for example. So here the adjectives greedy and messy are describing Willie, a person. And another thing to remember is that in English, it's great news, adjectives never change. So for example, in other languages, like French, for instance, you need to change the spelling of the adjective depending on the gender of the person or thing, or the number, if it's singular or plural. But wonderful news for us, we don't have to change adjectives in English, ever. So we would say, Willie is happy, Summer is happy, the Smiths are happy. So Willie here is masculine, it's a male person. Summer, female person, so masculine or feminine. And both of these are individual people, so it's singular. In contrast, the Smiths, that's a group of people, so it's plural, and mixed genders as well. But we can see we just say happy, happy, happy for each of the three sentences. Okay. Now, we can use adjectives to describe people. Now, I hope you're all ready because this is one of my favorite charts to show learners of English. I love this chart. It's really, really cool. So, people. We can use adjectives to describe groups of people. For example, nationalities. So, I am American, I am Australian, I am Indian, I am English. We can also just use adjectives to describe how people look, or another word for that is their appearance. So we can describe their body. Are they short, tall, large, slim, old, or young? Now, everybody, if at any point you see an adjective and you don't understand the meaning, please write that word in the chat box and I will give you some more details and explain it for you. We can use them to describe hair. So we can use it to describe the color, so black, blonde, red, brunette. Brunette is another way of saying brown hair. I'll write that in the chat so that you can see it. Oh, my screen has gone. That's strange. I'll just go back. There we go. So brunette equals brown hair. Okay, and then we can also describe the appearance of the hair, the shape of the hair. So curly, I'll just pop the chat box on here. I'll pop up my face. So curly, it's like this, as you all got from the first listening activity, and straight, which is what my hair currently is today, straight, like that. And we can describe the length as well. So long hair, medium, short hair. Okay, moving on. We can use it to describe eyes. So again, colors, blue, brown, green. Another nice way of saying brown is hazel, hazel eyes, H-A-Z-E-L. We can also use it to describe looks. So the way that somebody looks. So you could say attractive or beautiful, lovely, handsome, ugly. And lastly, we can use it to describe how people act, so their behavior. Are they brave, clever, friendly, funny, kind, lazy, polite, or popular? So these are some of the ways that we can use adjectives. And then next, feel, how people feel. So angry, bored, which is what we saw earlier, excited, happy, scared, tired, upset, or worried. So when describing people, we can talk about groups of people, the way they look, the way they act, and the way that they feel. Moving on, when we describe places or things, we can use them to describe opinions. So I think that Melbourne, so Melbourne is the city where I currently live. I could say I think Melbourne is busy or clean, crowded, dirty, modern. Again, we can also use adjectives to describe the look of places or things. So here we can talk about size, so big or small, age, new or old, shape, circular, round or square, color. Well, now everybody, just to give you a little bit of information, circular is the adjective and the noun for this is just circle. Interestingly, however, square, it's the same word for the adjective and for the noun. So a square, it is square. Both of those are correct. Okay, let's keep going. Color, again, we've got our colors here. Weather, we can describe the weather. So we saw some of these words earlier, like stormy, but we can also say cloudy, cold, foggy, hot, rainy, stormy, sunny, windy. Feel. So how does something feel, for example? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it smooth? Or is it rough? Rough is one of those interesting words in English that ends in GH, but we pronounce it like an F sound. Rough, rough. Moving on, we can use adjectives to describe sound. So noisy or quiet. And lastly, we can use them to describe the taste or smell of something. So sour or spicy or sweet. Now I can see, great. So Charles has just written in the chat box with an excellent suggestion. And we can use the word overcast when we're describing the weather. I'll just write that in the chat box so everybody can see it. So overcast, so I'll write a sentence. You could say it is overcast today. And overcast means grey skies, maybe about to rain later. So that's a really lovely adjective. Thank you, Charles, for sharing that. So are there any words on this screen that you haven't seen before or you don't understand? What about foggy? What does foggy mean? We often see foggy weather in the morning, in the very early morning. Yeah, so a few people, Serene, you've written cloudy. Yes, that's, and Samira, yes, you've written cloud, but it's very near to the earth. And Moyedin, yes, well done. It's difficult to see around. A few people have written smoky or hazy. Now that's a key difference. Foggy is not smoky. So foggy is just low clouds that are heavy with water. Yes, Jital, exactly, thank you, that's a great definition. Clouds near to the earth which have water particles. Or another word we can say is water droplets, but it's not raining. That's a key thing. Yeah, it's related to dew. So when you have fog, you will have dew on the ground. In contrast, hazy or smoky, and remember hazy, we only have one Z here, just H-A-Z-Y. Hazy or smoky is, you could say it's from pollution or the effects of fire. So I'll just write this here. So hazy or smoky could be like factory pollution or smoke from a fire. In Australia, in summer, we unfortunately often have many bush fires. So sometimes you can wake up and you look outside and you can see the sky, and the sky is pink or red from haze or the smoke of the fire. Ah, yes, Jitalia. Okay, interesting. So it's very foggy in winter in India. Oh, I never knew that. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, so it's those are just some other ways we can describe weather. So moving on now, I'm going to talk to you about the position of adjectives in a sentence. Okay, so there are three positions. Position one, we put adjectives directly before the person, place, or thing it is describing. So here's an example. So remember, before, adjectives come first, then next you have your noun or pronoun. So here's our two examples. The blue cup. So blue is the adjective, cup is our noun here, and the adjective's coming first. Or a sunny day. The second position, we put it after the verb be. So am, is, are. Person, place, or thing. Next, the be verb. Then you can put the adjective. So we can say the cup is blue, or it is sunny. So those sentences are correct. And this is when you can put the adjective after the noun, but it must be after the verb be. So that's a really key thing. If I go back to this position, I cannot say the cup blue. That is incorrect. I cannot say a day sunny. I'll just check I can see something in the chat box. Ah, so sunny, so Tiba has a good question. Sunny is preceded by a, yet it is an adjective, not a noun. Yes, that's exactly right. I'll just go here. So in English, there are two options. You can have article plus noun, or article plus adjective plus noun. So when you see an article, that will tell you that the word after it is either a noun or an adjective. Okay. Ah, yes, so Jital's got a sentence. The blue, yeah, you could say the blue colored cup is on the table. You could certainly say that. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the third position. And this is after other linking verbs. So we can put it after the be verb and after other linking verbs. So linking verbs are the verbs that we use to describe how something feels or looks or seems, smells, sounds, tastes. So here are my examples. The cup feels hot. Or the weather looks sunny. So when we want to put an adjective after the noun, remember that you need a verb in the middle, and you have two options for the verb. It can be the be verb or linking verbs. Okay, everybody. So what we're going to do now is a reading activity, and specifically, we're going to look at the part 4 of the key exam. So here is one of our lovely characters, the mother from the Smith family. Now, Sylvia is an artist, and she is going to paint a picture of a person. Here is the reading text. So what you need to do is read the text and fill the gaps with the correct adjective. Now, you can only use each answer one time. So don't use an adjective 2 times in this, just one time only. And in the chat box, write your answers and write the number first. So 1 and then your answer, 2 and then your answer. Now for this activity, you've got about 3 to 4 minutes. So the bar down the bottom is the timer. I'm going to start the timer, and then We will check the answers together. Okay, everybody, are you ready? Good luck, and I'll talk to you in a minute or so. All right, everybody, time's up. I can see a lot of people have written their answers in the chat box, which is brilliant. So let's go through them together. Okay. The first answer is new. I've been asked to paint a picture of our new mayor, who just started in the role last week. Her name's Louisa Gray. Unlike the old mayor, who was over 50, Louisa is young. So she's popular with teens and young adults in our city. I'll have to make sure the painting has a modern style to appeal to her younger fans. It will be easy to make Louisa look good in the picture because she's attractive. She's also a clever person, so I want to show her intelligence in the picture. I really hope she's happy with it when I'm finished. Okay, so these are the answers. Now, are there any words in this text that are new for you or that you haven't seen before or you're not sure about? What about one right at the beginning, mayor, a mayor? Now, the pronunciation is mayor. We don't say mayor. It's actually got an sound, mayor. What does this word mean, a mayor? So, Moyeden has said working in a municipality. Now that's an excellent word, but quite a complex, advanced word. Yes, so Adebisi, you've got councillor. Yes, so these are all great synonyms. The meaning of the word mayor is like a leader of a city or town or neighborhood. So that's what a mayor means. So a mayor is a chairperson or kind of like a president of a city, a chief of a city, a leader of a city. But do be a little careful with the word president, because usually we say president to refer to the leader of a country. So in America, the president at the moment is Donald Trump. In Australia, the Prime Minister, so in Australia we say Prime Minister, at the moment is Scott Morrison. Now, there was a question earlier about the meaning of clever, and this is a lovely word to know. It means intelligent, so it's a synonym for intelligent or smart. So I'll just write these words down. City, town, neighborhood. And clever is a synonym. Oh, that's Charles, that's a lovely synonym. Bright, we can also say. So intelligent, smart, or bright. So that's the definition of clever. Now, what about fan? A fan. What is a fan? So Samira, great. You've got it exactly right. So people who support someone. Or we can also say you can also have a strong interest in something. So I'll write that here for you. A fan is a person who has a strong interest in someone or something. Now, Fahad, you've written attractive personality. A fan it's not an attractive personality. If someone has an attractive personality, we would say fantastic is an attractive personality. Yes, Wakini, great. A person who idolizes someone. Yeah, or Jital, I'm a fan of Salman Khan. So yes, that's an example. Like it could be a celebrity or a politician. Or for example, I'll pop back. Hello everyone, I'll pop back for this explanation. It can be a fan of a thing. So for example, I love chocolate. I love eating chocolate. So I could say, I am a fan of chocolate. Interestingly though, fan has two meanings. So a person who supports or has a strong interest in someone or something, like the examples you've given. But another example is a fan is something you use to blow air on yourself. So for example, the things on the ceiling that go around and we use them in summer, that's a fan. And another, really anything that you can use to blow air is a fan. So I'll give you an example. I have the paper here that I use for my listening notes. And this, if I just do that, I have made this into a fan. So a fan is also something that blows air. So just remember, it's got two meanings. Okay, now Samira, you have a really good question. So your question is, how can you improve when doing this type of activity? And I know it is quite a common thing for people when they do this activity to make mistakes. So even if you know the meaning of all of the words, when it comes to choosing the correct answer, there's still, you can still make a mistake. Well, I have two pieces of advice. My first piece of advice is, in some cases, it's possible for a few words to seem correct or be correct. However, in an activity like this, where you can only choose one word for each example, try to think of what word has the most accurate meaning for this context, for the situation of this story. And so, for example, with the first one of our new mare, you could put so many different adjectives there. Old mare, attractive mare, clever mare, all of those words could go in that spot. But it's only when we read on and understand more about the story, in particular this sentence, who just started in the role last week. Well, the clue for why we should use new is in the word just. Just means recently here, who recently started in the role last week. So that's my first piece of advice, to use the words in directly before and after to help you guess. The other piece of advice is to use the general meaning as a whole and try to think what would be the most appropriate thing to put here, given the context, given the characters, given the story. And I see, so, oh, now Adebisi, you've just written a good question. Let me just check your question. So your question is, in choosing from modern or attractive, the A was knocked off attractive, and attractive should carry an. Now let me just see, I'll have a look here. Now if we were to say she's an attractive person, we would definitely need the and there. She's an attractive person. But if you just say she's attractive, you don't need the article. We don't need an here, because it's after the verb. She is attractive. So we don't say she is unattractive, because then we would need to say a noun afterwards. That's a good rule. If you have an article, a or an or the, it must always have a noun after it. Sometimes you'll have an adjective before the noun, but the noun is the essential part. Articles and nouns are best friends. They cannot exist on their own. And let's see. Oh, okay, great. So Giselle, you've got a question about speaking. Okay, this is a really great question about how to speak fluently. Let's talk about that at the end of the lesson. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. Now I'll go over adjectives a little bit more, I'll recap them, and then I have some advice for you about fluency, how to speak fluently. So stick around, I'll answer your question in just a moment for you. Okay, so let's recap here our key points. Oh, so Giselle, you've just got a question. Okay, a little bit confused about selecting which word between clever or new. Well, the reason, so yeah, in the first sentence, it certainly could be our clever mare. However, we couldn't say she's also a new person. So here we cannot swap, we cannot exchange new and clever. Clever works in both places, our clever mare, and she's also a clever person. However, new only works in one of those locations. Okay, everybody, so to recap, we spent the lesson looking at adjectives. So remember, we can use adjectives to describe a person, place, or thing. Willie is greedy and he is messy. Now, before we go on to question time, we're actually going to do a little practice test. So similar to the activities we did at the start of the lesson with the 3 pictures, we're going to do 2 more of those. But this time, imagine this is a real test, you know, the stakes are high, you've got to get the answer right. So listen as carefully as you can for these ones. Okay, I'm going to read out the parts. Okay, everybody ready? Let's start. Question 3. How does Tom feel about the party? Person 1. Are you going to the party tonight, Tom? Person 2. Yes, I can't wait. I've been so bored all weekend with nothing to do, so I'm really looking forward to going. Person 1. Is your brother going too? Person 2. Nah, he's upset because he wasn't invited. Okay, everybody, that's the end of the first listening. Give you a few moments to write your answer in the chat box. Great. So I can see many people have got the correct answer. But we're actually going to move on to the next listening before I show you the answers. So just remember what answer you had for this one. Now, we're going to look at the 4th listening, okay? So, question 4. Which one is the lady's watch? Person 1. Excuse me, I've lost my watch. Could you see if it's been handed in, please? Person 2. Let me see. Is this one yours? Person 1. No, mine's blue and this one's green. Person 2. Or how about this one? Person 1. No, that one has a square face. Never mind, I'll keep looking. Okay, everyone, that's the end of the listening. Write your answer below. All right, okay, let's have a look. Let's take a look, see if you got them right. Okay, the first one, clue for 3. The correct answer is B, so excited. And then for question 4, the correct answer is C. So well done to all of you who got that one correct. So the tricky thing was she said, mine's blue, so my watch, mine's blue, and this one, so another watch, is green. And then she also said that she declined a watch that had a square face. As for 3, Tom is excited, and it is his brother who was upset because he wasn't invited. And Tom had been bored all weekend, so that's why he was excited to go to the party. Okay, everybody. So to summarize what we did today, in today's class, we looked at the listening text of the A2 Key exam, in particular part 1 with the 3 images. We looked at adjectives, so how to use adjectives to describe things. We looked at the rules and the position. And then we also did some practice of a Complete the Gaps A2 Key part 4 reading activity. Okay, so now it's question time. So I'll just pop back here. So first of all, any grammar questions that you have or language questions, you can ask me now. And I've written down a few that people ask during the lesson, which I'll start with. If you have any other questions, for example, about E2 language or particular exams, then a good place to go if I am not able to answer them is this link below, help.e2language.com. So let's start with answering some questions. So I'm going to put the full screen video back now, and I will answer the questions. So here we go. All right. Now, I saw some questions earlier. I'll just find where I wrote them down. Okay, so Jital, you had a question about fluency and also how to feel more confident when you speak. Well, my advice for building confidence is don't worry about making mistakes when you speak. Because if you spend a lot of time feeling stressed about, I don't know exactly how to say this grammatical structure, or I think I've got my verb tense wrong, or you worry about, for example, missing out articles like the, these are very little things. And when you're talking to another person, the wonderful thing about face-to-face talking is that the other person can read your body language as well as your words. In fact, I think it's an extraordinary, I've forgotten the exact percentage, but from memory, I think it's at least over 70% of communication is non-verbal. So it's what we do with our face, with our hands, with our body, and really only a very small amount of communication is the actual words that we say. So you can communicate very effectively and clearly even if you make mistakes. So that is my number one piece of advice. Don't worry about mistakes. You know, for example, when I talk to my students face to face, they make mistakes, but I can still understand them. As listeners, we're always trying hard to predict what the other person is saying, to anticipate what they're saying. So it doesn't matter if you make some mistakes, you know, be brave, don't worry about it. You know, it's an amazing thing to learn another language. It's a really brave and admirable thing to do. And part of learning is making some errors. And you know, I love errors because errors are the way that we grow and improve. If you are making errors in your English, that's a sign to me that you're learning. And that's a really good thing. If you're making errors, if you're making different errors and new errors, that's a signal that your brain is processing the information. It's figuring out how to use these structures. And so it's a good thing. Errors are good. Of course, you know, in your writing, the focus on grammar is, you know, certainly a more important thing, because when we write, it's more important to be accurate and clear in our meaning. But for speaking, go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about mistakes. It'll be okay. And the more you speak, the more fluent you will be and the more confident you'll be. Another tip I have for improving fluency is if you enjoy watching TV shows or movies, choose a TV show or movie that you like in English and choose a particular scene. So it could be a 5-minute scene from a film or movie. And then what I want you to do is put the subtitles on the screen and play what the actors say and then pause it and then repeat it. Play, then pause, and copy how the actors are saying, what they're saying and how they're saying it. Copy how their voice goes up or down. Copy their vocabulary. Copy whole conversations, even like I did just now. Person 1, person 2, person 1. And that can be another tip for sounding more natural and native as well. Okay, so I can see some other questions. Can we have more grammar classes regarding the PTE? I'm sure we can. That's not my particular area, but I can certainly get in touch with the people and the teachers that are working in PTE and designing the live class topics. In these classes, they will be focusing on the key exam. So my advice to you is if you are wanting a greater focus on PTE, then those live classes will be really helpful for you. However, if there is a particular grammar point that is relevant to both PTE and the key exam, I would love to cover it in these live classes. So if there is something in particular you want to do with me in these classes on Wednesdays, please tell me and I can include it in my lessons. Okay, so this question is from Adebisi. I noticed the comma usually precedes the word and when writing a long sentence, and also it precedes the word but. Now, this is, well done, you've got a great attention to detail for noticing that. The best way to understand commas is that it's a way of pausing, of breathing in long sentences. So if you imagine reading a sentence out loud, there's only so long before you've used up all your breath and you need to breathe back in to continue reading. So commas are designed to give the speaker and also by default the listener a pause, a break in the flow of language to help us breathe, but also to give us time to process ideas. And we usually put the comma before connecting words, so connectors such as and or but or because that's a suitable place to pause. We would never put the comma in between an article and an adjective, for example, because that would break up this unit of grammar. But connecting words connect ideas, so it's like a little break, a pause between two ideas. So that's why we usually use commas just before connector words. Okay, now I've got another question. And this is, let me just, okay, from Jital again. So I'm not confident about my grammar that I have used in writing or speaking. Please suggest how I can correct if I've done mistakes. Okay, so there are two ways that you can do this. The first is on your own, self-study way. You can, sometimes all you need to do is read your writing again really carefully, because often when we write we might write quite quickly or not really think about all the rules when we write. And so if you look over it again and check, does that sound right, and go through all of your grammar rules that think about subject-verb agreement, think about the rules for singular, think about the rules for plural, about your rules for punctuation, so use of commas or full stops. Think about word order, so the order of the words in the sentence. All of these rules that you've learnt, that you're familiar with, go through your writing one by one. So don't try to think of all the rules at once. Go through your essays or your paragraph just looking for subject-verb agreement. So subject-verb agreement, just to refresh, is subject must agree with the verb. So for example, He eats is correct. He eat is incorrect. Or another one, I am is correct. So the subject and the verb, they match. I is, that doesn't agree. So go through your essay or your paragraph, look at each sentence for subject-verb agreement. Then go back up to the top, look through each sentence for singular or plural. And back up, look through each sentence for punctuation. So that's something you can do on your own. The other thing that I should mention is that when E2 School launches in July, we will have the option for you to submit your work through E2 School, and you will be able to have a teacher check it carefully for you and tell you what are your mistakes and how to fix them. What are your most common mistakes? So that's a feature that we will be bringing out quite soon. At the moment, it is currently available on E2 Language, but that is primarily for exams or essays for specific exams, like the essay for IELTS or essays for the OET, for instance. Okay, now I'll just see some other questions. So Samira, you've got a great question. Can we have more fill in the blank? Yes, absolutely. We can certainly include more of those in upcoming lessons. I'll write it down, so I will make a note for myself. Because if that's absolutely, and this feedback is really helpful for me and the wonderful team of writers who create these lessons and these ideas. What do you want to see in these lessons? What activity types would be helpful for you? So certainly in these classes, we're going to cover different activity types that are on the key exam, but I'll make sure we often include the gap fill ones for you. Okay, and then there's another, okay, one more question. Can we change the time of the class to 3:30? I can certainly consider this. I think that should be fine because that's still within the time zone that would suit many people. We'll need to talk to the organizers who schedule the classes and program them into the system. I believe the next few classes are scheduled for 5 p.m. I'm not sure if it's able to change those classes, but perhaps in the future, going forward, we can have the classes a little earlier at 3:30. So I'll check that one for you and get back to you next week. I can tell you about that next week. Write that one down. Okay, everybody, any more questions or thoughts that you have? Okay, well, if there are no more last emergency questions, then I might wrap up and finish the lesson. So thank you all for joining me along in this class today. It's been really, really lovely to have you here. I love seeing the familiar students and names that come back week after week, and it's always a real delight to meet new students as well. So this was your first live class. I hope you enjoyed it, and to all my regular students, lovely to see you again. And hopefully I'll be able to see you next week, so same time on Wednesday, where we'll be covering different parts from the key test and some different grammar for you guys. Okay, excellent. Oh, thank you, everybody. All right. So just another quick little question I just saw, how can I study with E2? Well, at the moment on E2 School, we've got a range of materials that are accessible. Just create an account, log on E2 School, and you can do the activities there, and we'll be uploading some more soon as well. Okay, everybody. The subject of next week. I can't remember. Sorry, everybody. I think it's verbs. That's right. It's about verbs, a particular verb. Let me just think. Hold on a moment. Oh, I'm so sorry, Samira. It's just slipped my mind. I can't remember what we're doing next week, but tune in next week and you'll find out. I'm pretty sure it's a verb that we're going to look at. But actually, if you want to look at something in particular, if that like adverbs or prepositions or something, feel free to write it and we can change the plan. The lesson for next week is still being written and organized, so it could be changed a little bit to include whatever you want. Otherwise, thank you so much for your lovely feedback, everybody. I hope you have a really enjoyable rest of your day, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening, depending on which part of the world you're in. And I hope to see you next time. So thank you for joining with me, and see you soon.